Hey guys, this is Daniel Hamilton here. I'm making a special video today because tomorrow will be the 114th anniversary of the Titanic sinking. To me, the Titanic's loss was, well, it's rather special to me because it was a really horrific disaster, and 1,500 people died around there. It was during peacetime as well. Yeah, and on her maiden voyage, it was just a real shock. But like I said, I wasn't around then because I wasn't alive then. You know. I do apologise for the noise that my recording is making, and I stutter a lot and I mix my words up by accident a lot as well. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to show you just a little quick tour of Titanic Honor and Glory alpha video game. Well, it's actually an alpha demo. Well, a demo 401, update 2.1. You have to excuse the loading times, it takes a little while. As you know, Titanic was part of the Olympic class liners. She was the middle ship. The first was Olympic, and then the middle ship was Titanic, and the third sister, Britannic. Olympic and Titanic were built side by side in Belfast, Northern Ireland. Titanic's construction was 3 months behind Olympic's. And as you can see here, this is the steerage area, known as the third class, where people who were very, very poor and only could afford one voyage to the New World stayed here. These are cabins and rooms. Yes. Yeah. Even in the third class, it's still pretty amazing because of the size. The Olympic and Titanic were the grandest and most luxurious ships afloat. Olympic entered service in June 1911, while Titanic entered service in April 1912. Now, you may think that Olympic and Titanic were pretty much the same. In the original design plans, they were actually pretty much the same. But just before Titanic entered service, they actually modified Titanic by enclosing her promenade deck, yes, and giving her extra first class cabins in the first class areas, yeah, including the Café Parisien right next to the a la carte restaurant, yes, making her 1,000 tons heavier than Olympic, gaining the title of being the largest ship in the world. as you look through here, this is where the engine rooms are. The engine rooms. I can't go really further because it's blocked, you know. Yeah. One of the dining rooms. I think this is for the staff and the crew. Yeah. I think the music just switched off by itself. Yeah. This deck here is this E deck. This is known as Scotland Road, where steerage passengers often wandered around. Well, I think wandered around, yeah. And also the ship's crew from all classes went through here, you know, and that's where their cabins are and bathrooms and stuff. Yeah. This is where the ship's crew, like the maids and servants and waiters, and this is the second class stewards' cabins with bunks where they were sleeping. Yeah, this is the steward's lavvy where they freshened up and go to the bathroom and toilets. Yeah. That's the officer's lavvy. Stairs to F deck. Where all the stuff is. Yeah. That's again the lavvy again. The waiter's saloon, yes. And here is where the steerage class dining saloon is. You see, even in steerage, it's quite spacious, it's quite luxurious for them, because at home they wouldn't have had this luxury. You know, you say with the steerage cabins, you'd have bunks for 4 people, whereas at their homes on land, they would have like 6 people to one bed in one bedroom, because they were so poor, you know. But this to them was luxury. Yeah. Gosh, you know, it's hard to tell which direction's the bow or the stern by the looks from here. Forward and after, it's difficult to tell. But this game is so well detailed. Yeah, this is a bulkhead door. This wall is a bulkhead. Yeah. Bulkhead doors are designed to close in the event of emergencies, so when the ship gets damaged. And these doors will be closed. Yeah. Even in the engine rooms, the doors will be closed, because these doors actually protect, or try to protect, the rest of the ship from water going any further. This is the engine room. Yeah, also the boiler rooms. Not boilers, it's where the pistons are. to turn the propellers. You see the pistons are at work. These are telegraphs indicating that they have slowed or fastened the ship with her speed. By using these, they inform the bridge automatically on a telegraph there. Well, working piston. They turn the propellers, also known as the screws. Titanic and her sisters were triple screws, because the port side and the starboard side propeller move the ship, while the central propeller increases the speed when it's activated. Yeah, gaining cruising speed. Yeah. I've just come from it from the different side. Well, let me just have a look. This detail is truly amazing. You see that's going up. It's a shaft, large shafts. Yeah. Go all the way up to the top. Oh, I can't go into over there. Nope. Another bulkhead door. That's a gangway door where the steerage passengers boarded. This door leads to the second class forward staircase. So if I went through here, I would have started to enter the second class areas. I just want to have a look further down here. This is all steerage and stuff. Yeah. We are now in the stern section. Inside. This is the aft well deck, where steerage passengers were allowed to come out and have some fresh air during the crossings. Yeah, well, actually Titanic was only doing one crossing at the time. Yeah. And also during the ship's final moments of her sinking, during the final plunge, this is where passengers of all classes who remained on board were gathering, you know, because the stern was the furthest out of the water. Yeah, and people were panicking. The ship was groaning, you know, that sort of thing. It was a horrific night. It was really, truly a scary night for them. This is the third class general room. I suppose you could call it the third class lounge or smoking room, I suppose, but it's really a general room for the third class. Yeah. I suppose this is the third class lounge, I think. The third class, yeah, because it's quite nice in here. You see, that's the White Star Line advertisement, but they've increased Titanic to 46,000 tons, making her the largest. It says 45,000 on both ships on here, but when Titanic entered service, it was increased to 46,000. Now we're going to enter the second class areas. It's where people who weren't rich, no, but they weren't poor neither. They were in the middle. Yeah. This is the second class staircase, aft though, yeah. Mind you, both the forward and the aft second class staircases were actually in the aft, you know, we're towards the stern, you know, but yeah, that's how it's designed. This is the second class lounge. It's quite grand for second class. It's beautiful. Yeah, it's just perfect. And this is the forward second class staircase. You see, it wasn't far. So, and this is C deck. Yeah, this is a second class elevator. There was only one in second class, while in first class there was 3. Yeah. Further down. This is the second class dining saloon, so it's quite nice. It's quite nice. The detail is just amazing. That's the aft staircase, yeah. Yeah. Even in second class you'd have a piano. It's really quite nice. A gangway door. Head aft. All second class here, so it's pretty much basic cabins that you have to share with another passenger, of course, but you still have some kind of beauty in the interiors, like the flooring and stuff, yeah. And but the ceiling's metal, you know, that sort of thing. But in the saloons and the staircases, you have wood everywhere and stuff. It's really quite nice. It's really amazing. Unfortunately, at the moment, there's not much to go through in second class. At the moment. This is the second class promenade. You see, on the Olympic, this second class promenade was actually bigger, but they made it shorter on Titanic. Yes, because they've extended the a la carte restaurant on this side, whereas on the other side they've installed the Café Parisien for the first class. Olympic did actually get her second class promenades shortened as well after her emergency refit, because they've extended the a la carte restaurant on her and also installed the Café Parisien for the first class on the other side, yeah. So basically, Olympic received Titanic's modification interiors after Olympic's emergency refit, after the Titanic's loss. Except Olympic's promenade was never enclosed fully. It was always open throughout the Olympic's career. Yeah. Right, we can enter the first class areas now. Café Parisien. This image is the Café Parisien. We're about to enter it. First class, where the rich people went, where the rich people were. Very rich. A floating palace. It's like beautiful interiors from a castle but on a ship. It's like floating Downton Abbeys, yeah. Yeah. That's the Café Parisien. This is the a la carte restaurant. This is first class, yes, but first class had to pay for this restaurant separately from their actual first class ticket. So when they came in for dinner or lunch, each time they had to pay and reserve here. Stunning detail. Absolutely amazing. This is the aft first class reception room that was exclusively on Titanic. It was never on Olympic, because this area was still first class on Olympic, but it was entirely brown. It was entirely brown and entirely part of the aft first class staircase, which is here. This is the aft first class staircase, also known as the aft grand staircase. It's identical to the staircase you've seen in James Cameron's film. Yes, it's very identical, except James Cameron's grand staircase was based on the forward and much grander staircase. This is B deck, yes. This is C deck. You see that the aft grand staircase only went down 2 floors, whereas the forward staircase went down like 5 floors. Yes, and I'll explain a little later about that. This is where the maids and valet saloon is. That's where the first class servants and valets and staff and crew came to eat. This is the barber shop. On Olympic, this was on board, yeah, and it was extended in the late 20s, 30s. It extended all the way to here. Yeah. This is first class cabins. Very grand they are, and down here is where is where the doctor's surgeon, isn't it? Right. Oh, this is the Marconi saloon room. It's where the men who worked at the Marconi in the bridge come down here to eat. Yeah. Also, the doctor's surgeon is on this deck. Yeah, it's right here in the surgery. Go down the stairs. Now, you may not know this, but the Olympic class liners actually had a padded room. Yes. Yes. No one knew that Titanic had one because Titanic never completed her first trip. So the padded room was oblivious to around the world. But on the design plans, she had one. It's right here. Very small and cramped padded room. I don't think it was ever used on Titanic because, like I said, Titanic never completed her first trip because she sank. But on Olympic, yeah, it would have been used a lot for passengers who had mental breakdowns or went crazy, that sort of thing. Back into the first class areas. This is the doctor's cabin, so it's quite basic, really. Not as grand as first class cabins, but it will do. Yeah, this is where the first class cabins are on C deck. Yes. Yep. Both C deck and B deck corridors, they have first class cabins, and they are connected to the two grand staircases, the forward and aft. Back on B deck. This is one of the first class cabins. Oh, absolutely stunning. Yeah. Even in first class, you still had to share a bathroom with the other passengers down the corridors. Yeah. The only first class cabins that had their own private bathrooms was the parlour suites, the most expensive cabins on the ships. This is a parlour suite, one of the most expensive cabins. With their own private promenade. You may recognise that this type of promenade was actually featured in the film, in the movie. Yeah. This parlour suite cabin was not in the film because it was totally different design. But actually, I think this probably was the cabin in the film, except the design of the parlour suite in the film was totally wrong. If you see, this is all white here, whereas in the film it was nicely dark red with golden emblems and that sort of thing. Although that cabin did exist on the ship, except it was on C deck. Yeah. And this is one of the cabins of the parlour suites. It's very grand. This is the forward grand staircase. This is the B deck level, and this is the grand staircase that was in the movie. it was very, very grand. This is A deck, and that's, I mean, A deck. Yeah. Yes, A deck. Yes, that's right. And this is the famous part of the grand staircase. Yeah, with the honour and glory clock, where in the film Jack was waiting for Rose. Yeah, and above. In fact, both staircases had glass domes, except this is the biggest one. The glass domes were perfect touch, with the chandelier in the middle. It's just so lovely. Well, here's the boat deck, first class area. Second class also was part on the. Sorry, second class also had a part on the boat deck, but very, very aft. Yeah. And this is just truly amazing. This staircase is my favourite. And going through the revolving door. This is the first class reading and writing room. This is the alcove. This is where mostly the women went to come in and relax and do a bit of reading and do a bit of writing. Yes. And this is one of my favourite rooms. This is the first class lounge, based on the Palace of Versailles. Oh, it's just, this room is just so lovely and cosy. Both men and women and children, of course, came in here to have afternoon tea and just socialise. Yeah, and the beautiful chandelier is also known as electrolyre. If I pronounce it correctly, it's electrolyre. But most people in English would say a chandelier. This is just truly amazing. Unfortunately, when the ship broke apart, the breakage happened just about here, causing severe damage to the lounge. And when the ship hit the bottom, the crumbled decks sort of crushed the lounge even further, completely destroying the room. You actually saw it in the film being ripped apart. Yeah. And that was one of the pieces that was floating, and Rose was floating on it. You see, you recognise the pattern. Although Rose and Jack were fiction, they were made up. Yeah. And I'm going back to the forward. This is a great staircase. Another revolving door. Actually, this was the bit where it ripped. This was the bit. I do apologise, because this was the bit where the ship broke apart, causing severe damage to the lounge. This is the bit. Yeah, sorry. It's just sometimes it's just confusing which direction's which. But this is the aft section. That's where the split happened, where the force of the ripping. Ooh. This is the promenade, a deck promenade. All of it was reserved for first class. All of it, on both sides. Back into the aft staircase. You see, there's a beautiful dome. And also in the arched staircase there was 2 first-class cabins. Yes. This one was reserved for Father Brown, but he got off the ship at Queenstown. Queenstown is known today as Cove. That's the official name for the town today. And the other cabin was reserved for Thomas Andrews, the ship's designer. He was the nephew of William Perry, the head of Holland and Wolff. Yes, William Perry was supposed to sail on Titanic, but he had to cancel because of health reasons. So his nephew sailed on the ship. Unfortunately, Thomas Andrews did not survive the disaster. He perished with the ship. And this is the first class smoking room where men come in and just play cards, drink some whiskey or vodka and smoke. Yeah. Yes. I love the mahogany interior. It's just lovely. It's just lovely, yeah. And through this revolving door is the Palm Court. There was one on either side. Yes. This is sort of basically very similar to the Café Parisien. It is basically the same technical design. Yeah. People used to come here, just have some tea or lunch. Yeah. And this door goes out to the promenade deck, aft. Going through here, going back through the lounge. One of my favourite rooms. Going down to B deck, where the parlour suite is. There's parlour suites on either side. Yeah. And there's more cabins down there, and this is where the elevators were. In British English, it's lifts. Lifts, yes. Yeah. And there's the gangway doors for first class. The B deck level, yes. Gangway doors on each side. And down the stairs. C deck. Down there more cabins, first class. There's cabins everywhere. And this is the purser's office, where first class would send messages for their loved ones and also ask them to hold their valuables. And when you send a message to your loved ones on land, they send a message to the Marconi room on the boat deck, just behind the bridge, and they do the tapping. Yeah. The staterooms. Now this is the cabin I mentioned earlier. This is the style cabin that was used in the Titanic movie. This is the mahogany with golden emblems. Yeah. This is what it was like. It didn't have a private promenade. So James Cameron sort of mixed up the cabins by accident, of course, but it doesn't really matter. Not to me anyway. And I actually love this style of colouring and the mahogany wood. It's just perfect. It's just lovely. This cabin was reserved for Ida and Isidore Strauss. They were the head of the Macy's department store in New York. They did not survive the sinking, though, because Ida refused to enter a lifeboat because she wanted to stay with her husband, because she believed that they wanted to end their lives together because of their marriage. That's what she wanted to do. She didn't want to leave her husband. Nice parlour. This is actually a parlour suite, but without the promenade, private promenade. You see, they had their own bathroom and toilet. Take it as closet space. Now going down the stairs is D deck, where the beautiful candelabra is. That is stunning. This is the first class reception room. Also had gangway doors for boarding and leaving. Yeah. This is where people would go before and after dinner to have a little drink, you know. Love the style. It's just lovely. This is the first class dining room. In the 1920s, this room was actually modified because they installed a dance floor on Olympic in the 1920s, right here. This is where they also had church services on Sunday mornings. Yeah. The gangway doors on both sides. Now down here, it was revolutionary to the ships. They actually installed what was it called? So I had the word down. What's it called? A squash court. A squash court. A squash court. Right down here. This was revolutionary to ocean liners at the time. Where is it? It might not be around here. I think I've gone too far. I think. You know, it's just that's to the post office. Okay. Here's the squash court right here. Reserved for first class only. Wow, this is actually so big. Could play squash. That's where the post office is. The elevators again. Lifts, sorry. Now, this is E deck. This is the lowest level of the grand staircase, but the staircase does actually continue on for one more level, but as a normal staircase down to F deck. You see, on F deck there was the Turkish baths with saunas and stuff, with the electric baths right here. Oh, that just sounds lovely. Oh, a bulkhead door. On the Olympic and Titanic, they were one of the first ships in the world to have a swimming pool, but they weren't the very first ships. No, there was another White Star ship that became the very first ocean liner in the world to have a swimming pool on board. It was the Adriatic. Yes, the Olympic and Titanic were the second and third ships in the world to have a swimming pool. It's right here, reserved for first class. It's very nice. It's very basic though, but it's wow, it's just nice to have a swimming pool. Can I go into the water? Under the water, sorry. No. Oh, what a shame. No one knows the condition of the swimming pool in the Titanic's wreck. No one knows, because the bulkhead door is sealed. The two bulkhead doors are sealed, and no one can go through them. So I imagine it's just, the pool is just full of ocean seafloor mud and rusticles everywhere, and probably a lot of damage in the pool too, because of the force of the landing on the seabed, the ocean floor, sorry. Yeah. The forward grand staircase in Titanic was completely destroyed during the sinking and the descent to the ocean floor. When the dome imploded, which is very high up, well, look up the floors. Once that dome imploded, the force of the water actually severely damaged the staircases, ripping them from their foundations. There was an unused scene from the film. In fact, it wasn't even part of the deleted scenes. It was just fully deleted, but was featured in some of the Titanic documentaries, that James Cameron's grand staircase set was actually ripped because of the force of the implosion of the dome. Yeah, and they believed that's how the actual staircase disappeared. It's not 100% certain. The staircase could have rotted away because it was wood, but it was likely that the dome imploded and caused severe damage to the stairs, and ripped them away, that sort of thing. The aft staircase was ripped apart because of partially the split in two, and also the descent. Well, mostly it was the descending to the sea floor when the stone was descending to the floor, because it was full of air, and the water just ripped the stern apart, including the aft staircase. It was just totally obliterated. That's why it's in such bad condition today. The only ship out of the Olympic class that never sank was the Olympic. Olympic carried on until she was scrapped in the 1930s. Although she did have accidents, most notably with the HMS Hawke in September 1911. Yes. And also during her final year in commercial service in 1934, when she accidentally rammed down the Nantucket Lightship. Yeah. The Olympic was a troop ship during the First World War, while the third sister, Britannic, became a hospital ship, and unfortunately Britannic sank on November the 21st, 1916, after hitting a mine. Making Britannic the largest ocean liner on the seafloor completely today, and also the largest ship out of all ships during the First World War to be destroyed. The Olympic carried on her trooping duties, crossing the Atlantic with troops from Canada and the USA, and she also became the only ocean liner to deliberately ram and sink a German U-boat. Just rammed it with her prow. Ram, yes. Yes. The submarine tried to escape, but they couldn't. Not in time. So, but Captain Bertram Fox Hayes, the captain of the Olympic, decided to ram down the enemy, and they managed to do it, severely damaging the submarine. And although the German crew did evacuate, but the submarine sank afterwards. Olympic became famous because of that. Yeah. Even today. Because Olympic was not designed to ram a submarine. She was designed to be a North Atlantic ocean liner, but she managed to do it. Olympic managed to do it thanks to her captain, Captain Bertram Fox Hayes. He was, wow. Gaining the title of Old Reliable for the Olympic. I would like to dedicate this video to the 1,500 people who perished with the Titanic on that fateful April 14th and 15th 1912. Sorry, April 14th and 15th 1912, when she struck the berg at 11:40 p.m. on April 14th and sank at 2:20 a.m. on April 15th. The Titanic disaster was a shock to the world. A real shock. No one could believe their eyes that a magnificent giant vessel that was brand new go down on its first trip. After all the advertisements of calling it unsinkable, which White Star didn't claim. They just called it unsinkable, but it wasn't official. It was just for publicity, yeah. The whole world, Europe, Australia, America was stunned, and you couldn't imagine how the relatives on land were feeling at the time. They were hoping that their loved ones have survived, but quite a lot of them have lost their relatives because they went down with the ship, they got killed by the smokestacks, or froze to death in the ocean. It was a horrific night. Yeah, they didn't deserve that. No one did. It was just a horrific accident that caused a tragedy and a sort of thing. It was just really horrific. But the Titanic disaster caused inquiries both in America and in Britain. It also made the law change, maritime law, both in America and in Europe, that all giant vessels had to have emergency safety refits, getting a double skin, raising the bulkheads to high on B deck, and of course making sure that there were enough lifeboats for every single person on board. That was truly necessary. Yeah. They also increased patrols for icebergs in the North Atlantic to decrease the chances of having another disaster. But I just want to say rest in peace to all those 1,500 souls who perished in the disaster, especially the steerage, who hardly had the chance to survive. It was, especially to the children, it was never got a chance in life. They are continuing walking up the staircase into heaven above, sailing with Titanic for life, where they look down and love their loved ones and ancestors, you know. Rest in peace, and also sail in peace. Thank you for watching this video. I'm sorry for all my stuttering and noises and stuff. It's just me. I wanted to make a tribute, that was all, like a tour, and the credit goes to the Titanic Honor and Glory team who made these demos and making the game. Thank you so much. This is a real true, like, virtual museum. It's just truly realistic. I actually feel like I travelled to 1912 now. Yeah, it's just so stunning. If you want to download any of the demos, just click on the links to Titanic Honor and Glory. Most of the demos are free, right? If you want to buy Britannic Patroness of the Mediterranean, you can on Steam. On Steam, it's available for purchase, and also, if the Titanic Alpha demo has been released, you can buy that on Steam if you wish. Yeah, if it's been released, of course. I haven't checked. But all the credit goes to the Titanic Honor and Glory team. Well done. This is the best experience of Titanic. It's just truly amazing. Continue with the good work, and and rest in peace to the passengers who died, and crew who died as well, with the real ship, you know. Thank you for watching this video. Bye.